for roll call, Ms. Monko, Mr. Erkins.
Here.
Mr. Olson. Mr. Walker. Mr. Restigar.
Here.
Thank you for coming down to visit in person about the 2024 Marketing, Sales, and Communications Plan. Since 2010, I pulled an old copy just for fun. We did have it bound, but there was no pretty pictures. So my bad, my first year here. I think we were probably lucky enough just to get it typed. But even back then, we were promoting a 45,000 square foot building. We were promoting a 349 seat auditorium, one kitchen. So things have changed, so it's kind of fun to look back and see, and you have this document from last year. And so every year we morph it, we add to it, we take out of it. But it's really kind of our roadmap. If you kind of just look at it, like, why do we do this? It's a roadmap for us for the year. And we break it out into sections. So we have a marketing section, we have a sales section, we have a communications PR section in an effort to really kind of drill down. So as you're reading through the plan, you think like, well, this is duplication, oh, this is duplication, because we all touch it. And so, we might talk about square footage, or we might talk about our target audiences, which vary slightly, but all in all, the marketing is a huge umbrella that encompasses all of these activities. And so the three of us represent the writers, the editors, the goal makers in each of these sections. So we'll kind of do a page turn. We'll kind of just go through the document. If you have any questions, just let us know. Really, our goal is to really pick out 5 to 10 key bullets of things that have changed over time. We know you can read and you can peruse this as your schedules allow. And then we'll just, like I say, just focus on a few highlights. This sheet, we're not gonna follow, but it's to take with you, this great document. This is the bullet points or the things that we think are important for you to know about, and a page reference as well. So we might refer to that gray sheet, or it's just a leave behind for you to take with you. But on page 3, we start with the executive summary. Just an overview of what the year is, and obviously the last paragraph is that, we have a change in leadership, and which is what? Document that the board of person. We do have a change in leadership, and we're excited. Cody's been on this side of the street for offices as Julie's come on board. We've had a chance to network with him, spend one-on-one time with him, and really are excited about the future. And so a lot of it, we'll be setting our goals with him. Pat will be doing our reviews, and we'll set our goals, our individual goals with Cody. Cody's been doing a great job as he's been out in the community. And he was just at the Destination Boise meeting and introduced and basically got in front of a lot of our partners, our hotel partners, and people who the Visit Boise works with and that we work with on a regular basis. And so it was really nice for him to stand up and talk about his excitement for the position and how engaged he is. So it's a plus for our organization. If you just jump to page 7, here's just a high level view of the goals. And I know Alan will be touching on some of these goals, how they compare and contrast to the current year. But if you're ever looking just for a quick glance or some cliff notes, if you will, the executive summary really kind of paints that picture for you. So this is so we can put our mission statements on page 8, and then we jump right into the marketing plan. So each of these sections will have a cover that's currently being designed, and then we'll have a bound like we do every year. So
Hey, Cliff, just real quick, I think you might draw a comparative just real quick in the goals as to what we're going to do this year.
Yeah, I'm happy
One reference.
to speak to that. So, and I think it's come up a couple times now in some of the past meetings that, have we sort of plateaued, hit the saturation point? And what we're seeing in 2024 kind of supports that. We're quite full. There's some dates left here and there to book, but I don't think that there's going to be anything too significant that's going to, create just another incredibly high trajectory going into 2024. So the numbers are fairly flat compared to 23. If we're looking at the room nights and economic impact, for example, we're projecting to end, right around or just over kind of where this is at for 2024. So we're being somewhat conservative for next year, again, just because we're so full already. We're really focusing our efforts going into 2025 and 2026 for those high revenue generating, high revenue generating events.
So in the marketing plan, just a couple of highlights. On page 12, we do talk about our agency services. We do rely on a professional agency. And I mentioned this in our marketing update several months ago. We were going from 2 agencies to 1. And I think it's going to help streamline things, especially timing on some projects. It'll help things move a little bit faster. But we're staying with Warren Massey Communications, and it's so good so far. So we'll continue to evaluate everything that we're doing as we go. On pages 12 and 13, you'll see a copy of our current print ad, our Centered Around You campaign. And so our goal this year is to drill down and look at this creative and see if there's a possibility for us to refresh and come up with some new campaign. This is a couple of years in the works, and we've changed out the photography several times and just trying to keep it fresh, but it might be time for a new look and a new feel. A couple of new projects that we have coming up in looking at the national ads would be to review our sales brochure. So this is a copy of what our current sales brochure looks like. And this is what the salespeople take out, just a quick overview of the facility and that, those kind of things. So this is definitely in need of a refresh. This is 2 to 3 years. Well, we have done updates based on some of the numbers in reprinting it, but we're going to do a whole, just a whole refresh and a new creative look for that. We also we'll be adding new photography into our mix this year because of the Boise Center East renovation. We'll need to exit all the current photography, and, Mary Michael will be hands-on with, shooting all the rooms again with all the new carpets and floor coverings, or carpets aren't floor coverings, wall coverings, and paint, those kind of things. So just like I say, just to make sure what we're putting out there in the world looks like us, and people obviously can get a great idea of what we look like. Another sales tool that we have is, we printed this several years ago. And this is what we call like our walkable brochure. It's just more of a pocket-sized guide, quick facts and quick information. In this one, we talked about how many steps things were away from Boise Center and how close the proximity is. So this is a little bit out of date. It was done around the expansions, and we talked about newly renovated. Well, pretty soon it's going to be newly renovated. How those. But just some of the materials we want to look at to make sure that they're new and unique. Also in our trade publications, this is one we're looking at, and we're budgeting it in conjunction with Visit Boise. This is a feature that some markets do. It's in Bean Magazine, but just as kind of an example, they do a graphic illustration of a lot of different points and highlights of the market. This one is Fort Worth, but in every issue, there's a feature city. And so we always come, and Allie said, hey, what would it take for us to do this? It is expensive, and that's why we're going to split it with Boise. So it'll be kind of a come to Boise Center.
Really good opportunity to, push that campus concept that Freeman had so much success with. I like the idea too, not to jump in, but that's very kind of graphic forward, and that's sort of what we're looking at too for the sales brochure. We have a lot of photos in there, but I think sometimes it's, it gets a little busy, so we're going to get more focus on graphics. If you kind of tie in with that PCMA too. And PCMA is Professional Convention Management Association. It's one of the largest association of meeting planners, suppliers like us are members, and their big annual convention is every January. Several thousand people bring that. And
with this organization, PCMA, we don't do print because it is so expensive for a building of our size and a budget of our size. But we do digital. So we do have a digital package with them. So we do have throughout the year with that.
PCMA is the publisher of that Bean Magazine.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct. On page 21, I do an overview of the budget for the marketing year for our ad placement and for our digital placement. The one thing that is an adjustment or kind of just a note And I put that in here too on page, we talk about just increasing costs for digital marketing. So we've adjusted our budgets from our monthly spend in 23 to 24 by about $3,000 each month. The cost of advertising goes up when everyone's having success with it. They can charge you the prices.
Yeah.
And so the other thing I wanted to point out too is on page 22. I added a list of all of our sponsors this year. So on the flip reverse of that budget is just a listing of all of our sponsorships. Which, sorry.
So 3K per month.
No, it's in addition to. So last year we were spending about 9. So we're about
Talk about 3K.
Yes.
Plus 3K a month. And you're accounting for just the increased cost of the lines, right?
Correct. And most of our, because of our relationship, a lot of our friends meetings honor the ones they don't increase us every year. They value our partnership. So they continue to bring additional things to the package, so that we can just maintain the same budgets that we have spent. But there's one publication that had an increase and it was 5%. So that's not bad across the board. So one of our sponsorships, it does just highlight for your awareness, all the things we do with the chamber, Visit Boise, with Idaho Business Review, what we call our sponsorship opportunities.
Sorry to interrupt. We met with Terry and Andrew last week, taking a look at the contract. Probably looking at about a 6 or 7% increase. They were asking for 10, but there would probably be a 6 or 7% increase in the CVB for next year. Most of it is wage adjustments, which internally is looking about 5 to 6. So, so 6% of the 6% increase, probably mostly it's wages and benefits. And then there's some operational costs in there. So we just talked to them last week and we don't have the official contract yet. And that just states that doesn't go to the board, but just so that number will be trued up before the.
So that's kind of marketing bullet points, highlights. Obviously, you can take time to peruse and drill down. But any questions to this point?
Before you pass on, any philosophical change priorities?
No, our message is still Meet Boise Center. Come, bring your event here. I mean, that's really our message. And even though we're really focused on future years, our goal is to help Allie do her job and help get the phone ring and help the people get to the emails and get to the request for information forms. Overall, we're trying to create awareness and book the building. I mean, that is always our foundation. Because we're so heavily booked in 24 and 25, some of that might shift. We may not have to place all that we have budgeted for because of availability. We don't want to frustrate the conventioneers, but those that are planning 3, 4, 5 years out, that's who we want to engage with. We want them to keep those calls coming. If we just cut off the marketing, we don't need to advertise anymore because we're full. Well, by the time 25 rolls around, like, what does 26 look like? So we've got to keep the pipeline alive, and that's through awareness, through education, and through branding.
Yeah, I mean, Cliff mentions availability, and that's how we open the sales plan. It's top philosophy that we've been seeing now consistently. It's just dates aren't available at Boise Center. That's for us. That goes for the market in general. Andrew Height, the director of sales at CVB, gave his update at Destination Boise last week, and those are their top last reasons. It's availability. Either Boise Center is not available, the Felton sports facilities aren't available. That's why the CVB is having to turn away business. So that's kind of our main hurdle in the coming months. I mean, I suppose it's a bad problem to have, but you know, we're really hoping to keep clients engaged and interested in future years if we're not available in 24. Our booking window is short, just given the size of our building. The largest events for us book typically in the 2 to 3 year windows. So we're in good timing right now for booking 2025 and 26 for those big events. And that's going to be our focus this coming year. So, you know, when Pat mentions philosophy, we're really going to be hyper focused on when and where we're booking events, conventions and non-conventions. We have a monthly meeting with the event managers where we're going through an 18-month rolling calendar. We're looking at the calendar for when events are being placed, especially when they're still in that prospect stage. We want to make sure that we're not just dropping a small event in the middle of a week that's otherwise empty. That really kind of limits our ability to do something large. So we're going to be continuing to work closely as the two teams are booking events, since we do have two separate teams booking space on the calendar, making sure that we're being really intentional and what we're placing things in pattern. Right, so like a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for conventions, that leaves Thursday, Friday for banquets. And of course, that's not just a consistent week over week, but that's in general kind of a nice pattern to follow. That kind of speaks to that page 25, booking guidelines on making sure that we're evaluating business. Those guidelines have been in place for a few years now. Making sure that we're protecting the calendar for our largest convention. We think in this coming year, we're talking about kind of taking that a step further right now. We're only applying to conventions, and Julie and I have been discussing adding a grade to non-conventions. And so since we have two teams booking events, it's going to take a little bit, it'll take away the arm wrestling kind of, you know, when everyone's really passionate about the groups, but they definitely want to be an advocate for their clients. But when we're talking about maximizing revenue and occupancy for the building, we want to make sure we're all evaluating the same metrics to make sure we know like which is the best piece of business. So we're going to be coming up with some additional guidelines to kind of look at all events as a whole in the coming year. You know, some of the main things we look at, of course, revenue, room nights, off-peak time frame. Our off-peak has typically been the summer, although that's filling in really nicely now with conventions. But you'll see here these guidelines, again, they're guidelines for a reason. They're not hard and fast policies, but it definitely gives the teams a good direction to make sure that we're maximizing our space. Of course, and I'll just kind of go through this quick, but we continue to work with the CVB. We travel to several trade shows together. We've done that in the past with them for several years now. The grant pays for our registration to those trade shows that we attend with the CVB. That includes IMEX and ASBE. Our lead inquiries, our top lead provider is the CVB. They're great lead generators for us. We also have really great success with our web inquiries. I think Emma might be sharing a little bit more in her section, but lead volume is remaining healthy for us. And that is one of the KPIs that we'll continue to track, which we're going to be measuring things a little bit differently next year. The sales team has goals and has been bonused on more quantity of our KPI. So number of proposals sent out, number of leads received, number of trade shows we go to, number of site visits. It's all just been kind of like this quantity number, right? 40 site visits a year, check, right? Instead, this coming year, we're going to be looking at the quality of the contracts that we're confirming. So something Pat and I talked about last year, and we definitely we intended to get it off the ground this year. So we have a revenue goal set for the sales team. So it's going to be based on the conventions that are contracted within the year to take place at any time in the future, whether it's in the year, for the year, or in the year in the future. We'll count that future forecasted revenue, and then future forecasted room nights and economic impact is all that we've set a goal. You'll see those figures on page 27. And what that amounts to is roughly a 5% increase on FY23 end of year projections on our contracts for this year. I'll pause there if there are any questions on that. That's kind of the major shift in how we're measuring sales opportunity.
Yeah, what is the most weight given to? Like, API, I guess, is most important.
For the coming year, revenue is gonna be our main focus. The room nights and economic impact kind of go hand in hand, and the higher the room nights, the higher the economic impact generally. Attendance is a function of economic impact as well, but, these would be record-setting goals for us, you know, in terms of contracts we're confirming. We'll continue to monitor those other KPIs, leads, proposals, site visits. I mean, that's all really important, but it's gonna be more based on where we're pacing compared to the year prior.
And the CVB is held to the same standards. It's revenue goal, not the same revenue goal, but revenue, rather than busy work, you know, let's get the biggest bang for the buck.
And really, I mean, you know, we see the number of leads that we have been having to turn away just from availability. So yeah, that's why we want to make sure that we are focusing on those big fish. We're giving the sales team the ability to, you know, okay, if we have to process through these smaller leads that, you know, let's get some of these bigger ones in here. Let's get really creative, get in front of how we can get these groups to Boise. And a lot of it has to do with getting people to town, which we have had a great deal of success with. These last couple of years, you know, hosting events, having created the customer advisory board, that that's actually one of the other highlights we're going to be talking about here, but we can just go into it now. The in-market events that we are planning on for next year is Meetings Today Live West. This is going to be the first time it's ever been held in Boise, so that's really exciting for us. We will be able to kind of do a campus concept with them. They're usually just in-house in a hotel, but they also do a really good job experiencing the city. So we're partnering with the Hotel Renegade as the host hotel. We'll be the meeting space. We'll be doing things at the Food Warehouse, potentially Treefort Music Hall. So there's a really good opportunity for them to see, you know, other areas in downtown where they can play. The mix of planners and suppliers, about 35 each. And that one will be held in the summer next year in August. We also just recently learned, actually, didn't have time to get the update into the plan, although the next version will be in there. The MPI, which is Meetings Professionals International, the Rocky Mountain chapter, which is predominantly based in Denver, will be hosting their FAM to coincide with Treefort. So we just got the green light on that before that to bring that group here in March.
During Treefort.
During Treefort, yeah. So
Nice to know.
yeah, it's gonna be great, and I'm really excited and happy about Boise's partnership with Treefort. They have really grown their Hackford space in Boise Center East. And I think it's just a perfect opportunity to get clients here and to really experience the city through Treefort. Let's see, page 29. We talk about just kind of the messaging, and one of the things that we're hearing loud and clear from the planners, especially the customer advisory board, that was just here, Anne Freeman, is that campus concept is really intriguing to them. Freeman was the perfect case study, and I think you'll continue to hear me talk about Freeman, but they really lent that concept a lot of credibility in the industry. We've already had another industry event be encouraged to consider Boise for their program from one of the Freeman executives. In fact, Pat's already reached out to their CEO. It's a smart meeting. So it's similar. Another kind of meetings today, right? It's going to be planners and suppliers, but one that would typically not consider Boise until she was told by Freeman, hey, you really need to look at Boise. And now they're doing a case study on this. They're usually at like kind of bougie properties. So really cool opportunity. She's going to be meeting with Pat at IMEX. Marin Bright, she runs a publication that we advertise in, and we've participated at her events, and now hopefully we'll be getting them to Boise more than likely 2025 or sometime into the future. But that Freeman event is going to just return, I think, tenfold to us.
Excuse me, I thought I had, or you could maybe give them just the key points of, when you say campus, what you mean?
Yeah, well, so, you know, we're landlocked, we can't get any bigger, right? And we're a small convention center. So if a group really wanted to come in with a couple thousand people, they really need to kind of consider using several different venues, not that we always have to have a couple of thousand, but the hotel blocks. Being what they are, you know, attendees have to split between several properties. Well, Freeman really leaned into that, and said, okay, well, they went with a camp concept throughout the whole thing, like campground, summer camp. And so the hotels were cabins, you know, they had the different venues being the campsites. And so it allows the event planner to get their attendees out and about, which creates a better experience for the attendees. It's just more experiential. And that's kind of the way events are trending right now, is to get really hyper-local experiential events.
And they did events at the Egyptian Theater, Junk, Boise Center, and the Bass Block. Is that right?
They did basketball, Shreveport Music Halls. They really took advantage of, I think, the best that downtown has to offer. So that certainly is one thing that we're going to be focused on this coming year. Also, the notion of Boise Center being kind of that boutique convention center. It's a little more exciting to talk about as being boutique rather than, oh, we're small, you know, so just kind of that notion of exclusivity, kind of like invite only, you know, it has to be, it's a special type of event that's going to be here because we are limited and how many we can accommodate. Let's see, if we are looking at page 32, this is where, you know, we are kind of talking a little bit more about the neighborhood campus concept, certainly opportunities to put that out there. We have coming year. And then finally, I included our travel schedule. We have a pretty busy travel schedule planned for 2024, a couple new initiatives in there, getting more involved in the Chicago chapter meetings for Freshman International. I also have included in there business events, industry week, and potential visionary awards. It's kind of a week-long focus on events in DC in the spring. And answer any questions on the sales plan.
You touched on a couple of industry trends that you're picking up on, they're changing. You mentioned hyperlocal, experiential. I'm wondering, like, what other trends are you seeing? How do these people that book these conferences, are they changing the process? Are they looking for different, you know, benefits, perks? Are they coming up with different objections than they used to?
I mean, price point is definitely a hurdle. Our hotel rates should be a challenge. We're kind of perceived as on the hotel side, what should be, you know, affordable room rates. And I think planners have a little bit of sticker shock when they get the groups, the blocks back from the hotels that they can accommodate at the rate. Boise Center on a national, you know, average, we're still comparatively quite affordable, especially when we're talking about our IT and food and beverage. So we're positioned well there. You know, I think as people hear more and more about Boise, the hotel rates will probably be a little bit more in line with what they think they should be. What we were hearing from some of the planners we talked to over the summer that were here is going to new destinations is attractive to them right now. You know, I think people are kind of getting sick of like the Chicago's or Vegas, so they're looking for that new experience, especially when attendees can be really selective on where they're going to go now. They can get their education online. So if they're going to attend an event, they really have to be, there has to be a good reason to go. And so planners are really trying to lean into whatever the identity is of the destination. One person used, you know, Minnesota as an example. I can't remember where, in Minneapolis, I think. They were in Minneapolis in the winter. And, you know, it's just going to be blistering cold there. And so instead of it being kind of like a hurdle, they incorporated hockey into their event. So things like that. I think that's what planners are trying to get really creative, just to draw the attendees to their event. And we can use that to our advantage. I mean, there's some unique things with Boise, and the fact that we're Idaho and kind of a bucket list state, I think is, you know, works in our favor.
Let's see how Portland, a lot of California are off the list. Just the ongoing issues in those particular cities. I was hearing it last year at IMAX, and then just visiting with some of the folks who have been in for the various conventions. They don't want Seattle, Portland, or California. They're looking for the alternatives. Salt Lake, Spokane, us, and some of the inland. Problem is for us is that Spokane has not only a bigger facility, they have more multi-purpose facilities up there to just that they can utilize. Plus they have two big hotels. The DoubleTree is right next door and there's a Marriott right connected to Spokane and Salt Lake at the major hills right there. That it's just a bigger convention center, but again, they're looking more inland and Boise has been very attractive.
Do you find yourself competing against Spokane a lot?
Yeah, I mean, especially for regional, they're just a natural destination that's source along with Boise.
So this change in looking for hyperlocal and experiential, that's, probably a function of demographics of the attendees.
Younger
But in terms of the people who book, their clients are the companies that put on the conventions, and I'm assuming they're outsourcing this to a booking agency.
Not always. I mean, the planners are, I couldn't really speak to percentage wise, but it's not uncommon for the company or the association to have their own employee meeting planner. Actually, Ken Holsinger brought up some interesting points about kind of this like dichotomy of the meeting planner who answers to, their board or their organization, and then the profile of the meeting planner. They're at odds sometimes, right? And when you have destination boycotts or, people, a perception of a certain state or destination, people saying, well, I can't go there because my attendees won't attend. Ken and Freeman has some data that actually kind of negates that. Attendees as a percentage identify as more conservative versus planners identify as more liberal, blue versus red, right? So you have planners kind of sometimes driving decisions of where they're going to take the event. Well, that doesn't always track what the attendee is. So it's just, it's kind of, you can overanalyze everything, but I mean, overall, we're in a good position. California's no longer banning travel to certain states. That helps with us. But yeah, to your point, demographics of attendees are changing. They're much younger, and I think they are looking for that special, unique, local experience with a low carbon footprint.
Yeah, I think you're dead on, because you mentioned the high ADRs are making it challenging. I mean, if you just think about housing, right? Housing is challenging here too, but there's a reason for it, because the quality of life is so high. And so it's not, yes, you have to pay above national market rates, but you get Boise in return. And your pivot to leaning into the campus style experience, I think, is genius, because for attendees, that's how they get to Boise. It's not by going necessarily to one airport, one hotel, and one convention center.
Right.
But I think you're onto something with that.
Good.
Yeah,
We're excited about it.
makes sense.
And I'll wrap it up. I know, geez, you have to go. If you'll, turn to page 39, moving on to communications PR plan. And I do communications PR and some marketing work for Boise Center. I happen to, manage most of our digital media efforts and digital marketing. So our communication, PR plan outlines the objectives, goals, target markets, key messages, and tactics to support the organization's marketing and sales goals. We have used digital, which would be website, digital media, ads, blogs, e-blasts, and then traditional communication channels as well, more print media, hard copy, papers and things, and then news interviews. All of these efforts go to help support business results. It's building brand awareness, generating website traffic, conversions on the website, leads submitted, events booked, and revenues. A big part of what I do is help message Boise Center. And when I say message, it's using consistent key messaging across all of our platforms. So, for example, we have an owned website, owned digital media efforts, but we also have content on Visit Boise's website and partner in a dual branded advertising campaign with Visit Boise targeted at meetings and conventions. And Allie and I message and write and approve the messaging that goes on that advertising as well, and that is paid for by grant dollars, so that we started that campaign, meetings and convention recovery in 2020, so it's newer. It'll be 4 years old this next year, but it has been really successful. For us, promoting and positioning Boise Center as a premier location for meetings, conventions, trade show, conferences within the Treasure Valley regionally and nationally. And you might say, gosh, in the Treasure Valley, isn't it known? But we continually see the majority of website traffic for us comes from within the state of Idaho. It's Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Utah, California. 30 to 40% of our annual business books within the year. So those are the short-term events that come. They may call this month, but they're coming in January. They call this month and they're coming in March. 30 to 40% of our business during the year they book in a very short window.
Does that track with what we're seeing right now for numbers? It seems like we have 261 confirmed for next year.
261 for this year,
Yeah.
and for next year, we're aiming for about 270.
What do we already have?
Confirmed for next year. To grab the computer for that. We were aiming for, I think, like a handful of additional conventions for 2024, and the number is gonna escape me, but either 60 or 90 more local events is confirmed for 24. So we're not there yet. Yeah.
I would say we're a third, maybe a little over a third of the way through for the local events for next year. Good question. We elevate Boise Center and Boise as a modern urban convention and event destination. Boise has hotels, restaurants, shops, breweries, entertainment, outdoor activities. When we message outside the market, so regionally and nationally, our proximity, our compact downtown, that you can step right outside our doors and be in local restaurants, breweries, entertainment venues, the Fast Walk, and then it's 4 blocks from the Boise Greenbelt is a huge selling point for us. I talked about where we were staying unique event venue, we're now pivoting to a boutique convention center. And many times a big selling point is that you work with one person to coordinate audiovisual, catering, technology services. We're at the Denver Convention Center of Seattle. You might have half a dozen different contacts helping you through that process.
So food and beverage in-house is a big plus for them.
Yes.
Amongst other.
On the next page, under specific goals, I've been talking a bit about the strategic messaging and imagery. I promote Boise Center's in-house services that are tailored to meet each event's unique needs, including event production, design, audiovisual lighting, catering, and technology. We utilize targeted digital media campaigns, including ads, sponsored content, e-blasts to build awareness, increase website traffic, and event inquiry. Digital media really serves to build the awareness level in our sales funnel, our sales and revenue funnel, bring them down to consideration, and then get them into hopefully taking action and contacting us either through the website, event inquiry, or calling us. Our website, we see inquiries or lead form from repeat customers and new customers. And that's been the trend for about 5 or 6 years now that we put the website into place. We collaborate with Vince Boise and Orange 142, their digital agency, on their meetings and conventions campaign. We do see website traffic from that campaign, and we do see leads from that campaign. Our next, I'm just making sure I hit my notes there. So the next is under on page 41. I actually oversee and manage our local media relations and our meetings industry relations. You saw some of that in play this summer with the opening of the Idaho Central Aquatics Center. And I have maintained and build relationships with local media, Don Day, the Idaho Statesman, Idaho Business Review, and continually help them with interviews or requests for information or connect with Pat. I will be introducing Cody to Don Lee and the new editor of the Idaho Business Review, Mark Lutz. And Cody's going to become the media spokesperson or spokesperson as of about November 1st. And he and I are going to work with Red Sky PR to help him get some media training. He's not had the media training before. But he actually did his first interview with a meetings publication a week and a half ago. I wrote talking points and he did really well, really well. Local media relations, and then also with meetings industry, on the next page 42, meetings industry can be publications, can be digital and e-blast. Last year, we had record coverage and editorials for meetings industry. This year, I've surpassed last year's number by an additional 8%. So I'm happy it's not perfect, but I'm happy we still have continued interest through the end of this year. We actually did an interview with Association Conventions and Facilities Magazine based on the Freeman meeting concept. That's hopefully coming out at the end of the year. We thought it would be September, but it didn't make the cut in the publication for September, but that'll come out in a national publication. It's often the ads that we buy help us get requests for editorial. And I always try to anticipate the needs of the editor, whether it's fulfilling the request really timely and just getting them a subject matter expert quickly. And then also supporting and offering higher res digital images of our audiovisual images of events, of convention attendees, and of the staff, and have a good placement record with those images as well. But that's an important part of the communications and PR. I also oversee our social media channels. And interestingly, when we first started social media a few years ago, it was really important to help build our search rankings, our organic search rankings. Social media continues to be important to build brand awareness and promote our in-house services. But we also see from the Human Resources Department, we have job candidates who mentioned that they're watching our social and they're checking, especially for employee culture. Okay, and lastly, I know Chase can just go pretty quickly. I oversee Boise Center's website, and this is managing our web architecture, key messages, images. Twice, just 2 to 3 times a year, I'm reviewing our Google Analytics data for traffic sources, geographic location, page views, time on site. I share these findings with our Director of Marketing, Director of Sales, and event managers. This year, we changed agencies in March, and that's affected a little bit of our quarterly and year-to-date analytics, but we're still have more web sessions and traffic than we did a year ago, which is positive. Our event inquiry or conversion rates are up year over year. And we'll continue to be making more improvements to that site. And then finally, I manage our photography and video. And in 2023, we completed a new promotional video used by our sales and event team. And it's also on the website. And we filmed a testimonial video, the Botanical Society, when they were here. And it really speaks volumes. The executive director and the conference senior director of sales really give a fantastic testimonial from Boise Center, and that's featured on the site now. They speak directly about the walkability of Boise, how beautiful the city is, how their members loved going to local restaurants, pubs, going to the Greenbelt, and then coming back to the center. That was the 950 or so person convention in July. We can answer any questions.
Just before you go. I should have prefaced the meeting with this. Cody, really wanted to be here, but he needed to take some vacation time. We were running out of time. And so, he drew a couple of permits for hunting. And so I told him that he had to take off this week. And I assured him that he would understand that. And, but he was like, no, I'll come in for it. Tony, he really wanted to be here. He didn't want his absence to be a negative reflection on, and I said it won't be. So anyway, I just want to let you know that he had to get out of here.
So the back sections are really more informational too. I mean, it's more of a history, it's situational awareness, it's a SWOT analysis, it's, you know, who the markets are, a lot of information in there. And so some of it's duplicated, but it is updated information. And the reason why we put it there is just like saying, because of Boise Center's position and because of the accolades we receive and the recognition that we get, occasionally we have people who reach out to us and say, hey, would you share your marketing plan with us? So someone who's not even familiar with the market or our facility, it gives them a really just a good idea of who we are and what we do and where we do it. And so that's really the purpose is this is our roadmap. Yes, it's going to change. There are going to be some detours. There might be some delays. You know, but basically this is where we want to go. With the help of the budget approval, with you know, the support of the district, we just go forward and want to continue promoting Boise Center and maintain it, our reputation and just continue to shout our accolades that we, you know, the things that we can be most proud of.
Tim, for you, one thing that might be of interest, it doesn't change much. But I think Chase has already seen it in the, towards the back, he spoke about the SWOT analysis. And, probably about 2/3 of the way through that last section, but, if you want to read through that, it kind of answers the question, yes, by Spokane and that sort of thing, but I think the SWOT analysis might answer a few of the questions about some of the challenges that we face, and the one that jumps out almost all the time is the hotel availability. And the lack of a big hotel, you know, a really central hotel. But there's some other things in there that might help answer a couple of the back of the mind questions you might have about how we operate it.
So moving forward is the marketing committee. This is, like I say, we're just reviewing kind of the highlights from this plan. If you wouldn't mind spending the next couple of days perusing it. If you notice any changes, anything that should be edited or clarified or added to, we'd like your feedback. And I know that this is tight by Friday, so that we can have it copied and bound and ready for the meeting the week after. So that's really our timeline, but you know, certainly if you'd like more time with it, I'll work with you to make that happen.
So ideally, you want feedback by Friday.
Yes. And remember, it's Friday the 13th, so nothing more bad.
But don't hesitate to call any of us, but those three particular.
So just say, you know, hey, on page this, give us a page number and say, hey, I wasn't really sure what you meant by this, or could you maybe expand on it, or, you know, whatever you think would help better the plan. So that I will give you printed copies to distribute at the board meeting to all of the board members, and then you can, then as an agenda item, it'll, you know, you'll ask for everybody's approval and put a stamp on it. Get ready for 24. So we really won't go into this depth during, as happened in years past. This is that drilled down. If any of the board members have any questions or concerns, then hopefully you might be able to address them based on what we discussed here. So.
And go for any conversations at these events about AI and convention centers, how that might impact at INEX or anything like that? Is there any discussions on how that'll help the industry or?
I mean, conversation, I'm hearing people use it for helping respond to emails. One person used it to, you know, come up with a formula in Excel. They thought, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. You know, that's great. Yeah. There is an AI platform being offered by PCMA, Professional Convention Management, and I kind of played around in it a little bit. The one thing that's jumped out at me was the fact that it is offering not, you know, legal advice, but it will help the planner evaluate clause in a contract. You can just copy and paste the clause and it will give you, this is what you might want to change in it. So I'm on the lookout for those kind of requests from planners, you know, just kind of reading the tone or if it really came from them or if it's an AI generated, but that's kind of what I'm hearing.
There hasn't been anything at Venue Connect. or anything within the chat, the online, IAVM has chat rooms and stuff. That would be a good one for, you know, keeping the board attuned to that, because, you know, he's really active on the regional level, and sort of sets him up, more of a participant on a national level. If, I mean, for a small convention center, that'd be great. So, but it's coming for sure. I mean, at what level can we use?
You hear about it every day.
I just chat GPT. I'm planning as a mention in Boise, what should I do? There we go. Summer.
Yeah.
All right.
That's good.
Thank you all.
Hey,
Thanks, Kate. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
It's amazing.
So we're all ears for you now. You're captive audience.
I don't think I have any other questions pertaining to the plan. I'm curious about a lot of things because I'm still learning.
Right, right.
And as I consider your funnel, your awareness to close business funnel, I'm starting to fill in, oh, okay, so for the awareness, this is who their segment is, this is who our segment is. These are the channels that we're activating. When it comes down to Alleyman's time to close, now, you know, the person booking is changing to these metrics and
Right.
looking for these kind of objections. This plan is filling a lot of my gaps in, which is good.
It's interesting, you probably, because you're a data and analytics person, that we found some money in our budget and our revenue budget in August or so. We found some we didn't spend earlier in the year, so we had the opportunity to roll some of that money into this fall, and we're running for the first time a specific B2B campaign in LinkedIn, called LinkedIn Carousel ad. But what is interesting, because of the first party data we've been able to put into it, we build this robust audience. We've been running 2 weeks. It's generated about 1,000 views to the website. The click-through rates above average. But I just tweaked it last Friday, and we're changing some of the job titles and different things to be more aligned with the Botanical Society head person was director of conferences. So we added that title. That's changing the audience. We've not run that before, and this campaign is very directed at convention people that plan that 2 to 3 years in advance. So we're experimenting, and we're seeing more and more going to digital, the publications, the ads, going to video. Things are like moving away from print and really going into more of that digital sphere, which is great. It's just more producing that content.
Making sure that we have the photos or the videos that are really dynamic, getting some new video that, you know, sell the market and the facility. Yeah, because our job is to focus on the facility that happens to be in Boise, so.
Well, as the demographics of the attendees are changing, the people who book
Right.
also are changing, and you're talking about the funnel for awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you brought up earlier that you look at the Google Analytics,
Right,
like,
right.
I'm super curious, like, what do people search for?
Uh-huh.
Because you'd be surprised, you know,
Search terms, yeah.
one assumes that they search for very straightforward terms, but they don't. It's usually a decision tree that then gets them to, on the awareness piece, anyway, maybe not so much on the closing. I'm fascinated to find out more.
Well, and you probably, every year we look at our keywords and our search terms and phrases and exact matches, and it was completely turned on its head in 2020, and again about 6 months later, and then about 2 years after that, we really scrubbed anything to do with clean and healthy virtual, because people in the middle of COVID were interested in clean and safe and healthy. And what are you doing for precautionary and what's open? Now it's we really added more audience segments. We're very much into the corporate meeting, corporate conference, corporate convention.
And LinkedIn impression and leads are at least 3 times as valuable.
And social, because of the changes in the social and Facebook and different things and privacy, you cannot target well in Facebook or Instagram, really, for us in B2B. You can in LinkedIn, but not for a B2B product. So that's different than it was 3 or 4 years ago, even 2 years ago. So it's changed we're evolving, but the ads now, like this last year, one of the reasons we overhauled is fewer words, brighter colors, and strong call to action.
We heard from the customer advisory board, I think this is something the CDB is gonna really run with, but, we talk about video and the timing was interesting, because I think really everything had just been completed with the botanical video, which is a great piece, but it's longer, it's between 2 and 3 minutes, and
Yeah, something like that.
definitely like a polished testimonial video. And one of the ideas that I think is just brilliant from the customer advisory board is to have you just do these organic, planners here for their site visit, just film on your phone, and then that's your LinkedIn video. I mean, you kind of have an idea of what, questions to ask them, but then the planners are like, we'll watch that, it's just as you're scrolling through, oh, stop, and it's just a quick, 10-second, 20-second little testimonial of why they like the building or the city. And I haven't seen really other destinations do that yet. I think that could be something we could.
I'm about to
Yeah,
experiment with some
trailblazer.
stuff that's on, some centers just came back from what Venue Connect are doing. This is how you enter the building, and they're posting it on YouTube, but we have a pinch point in unloading freight and underneath Boise Center East. It's not a pinch point you would think about, but I guess the event managers are saying that people from outside this market, there's 3 driveways right there. There's one up to passenger parking, there's one down for buses, and there's one free. So they brought me an idea that some centers are filming videos and posting on YouTube. This is where, and this is how you send, this is what it looks like, because people are so video and they'll watch those, so I'll be doing those soon.
You might consider Venue Connect is important in summer. I hate Portland after being, but Venue Connect's in Portland. The regional meeting is up in Tacoma in that January, March or April. Might consider, I'm open to going to those, or if there's an opportunity for Ally and, there are a few like IMAX, the number of bodies are limited by, buying that, but the CVB, I mean, they pay for the registration, it's our booth, which is. And then they pay for X number of bodies. Grove Hotels and we've got Kay and I going, and then Andrew and Shannon from CVB. So, but if they're, I think Cody went to one of them last year at PCMA. But if there's an opportunity to go for a couple of, even if you were to go for just a couple of days, or you may have just had time to, fly out, one night to one of these, spend the next day, and then fly back the next day. It's really enlightening. That's why I love going to IMAX, and just number one, I like the shtick given away crowd flies, and not talking about convention centers, but being there, listening to how the teams sell Boise facility and how many meeting plans. I don't know what it's like for Kay this year, but last year, all the appointments were full, which was like the first. And meeting planners were showing up going, I don't have an appointment, but I've heard all about Boise. Somebody had time. And there were a couple of times when it's like, they were in meetings and it's like, sure. So I get to play sales. I got to play salesperson for a bit. But anyway, it would give you so much perspective about the impact that we have. It's pretty amazing. And Kristen gets it because this is her business, but it'd be great to have a few other folks on the board who took advantage of the opportunity to go and really see it if you're interested. So.
Yeah, I'm still open to it. I think you're on the right path with emphasizing content.
Yes,
Content is king,
amen.
context is God. So
Oh,
I'm a very capable marketer.
context is God, that's interesting. Okay.
Because, in the awareness piece, you're trying to optimize your quality business, and so you like the sales team, and I like that, by the way. And then the question becomes in my mind, and we don't have to answer this, are the same channels reaching those higher quality leads? I don't know the answer. You know, something I'm very allergic to are influencers, especially social media influencers, but the only reason I'm allergic to them is because they're effective. And I remember during the fan dinner, a few of the guests took it upon themselves to add a toast to someone else's toasts. And those are the kind of folks,
Okay.
I don't know who follows them, if there is a king or a queen of event management that sort of is the thought leader in the country. I don't know, but if there's such a thing, that may be, especially as we're looking to optimize, right, because again, we can book, we know that.
You know Don Berger? He's, I mean, I feel like he was kind of a heavy hitter, and now he's sort of out of the industry. I'm not quite sure, what is he? He had his thoughts about a couple projects here, but I mean, he's in Boise County, moved here, you know, so social tables.
I wonder if Fahlgren Morton, the CVB or Visit Boise has a PR contract with Fahlgren Morton, who's a huge PR media firm in the tourism visitor space. If there's some destinations are doing it well, because there's gotta be, and we might, but I kind of like a brand evangelist almost, but there wouldn't be a reason why we couldn't film Sherry Huss. Us, I give us.
And Sherry Hess, yeah.
Thank you. Or Freeman or Marty. Even if it's just in a print temporarily until we have the chance to do a video.
I mean, we can even just tap into who are some of the, like, the board members at PCMA. We know, like, there's definitely some familiar names and kind of get on their radar. Good idea.
Allergic to influencers,
I try and
a necessary evil.
have kids,
Yeah,
I try to sway my kids' purchasing decisions.
because they're spending their parents' money, that's why.
Exactly right.
They have, you don't think that's the biggest spend in the country, isn't that what it is? Like way back.
But done right, choosing the right context and the right channel, it can be effective. And, you know, finding ourselves in a position where we're optimizing, that's a good position to be in.
Yeah.
You know, I went to conventions out in like in DC. For more on the government side, and it's mind boggling how big they are and how little experience they offer. I look at them on paper and I'm just turned off. Because I play it in my head, okay, hotels, airports, Ubers. Maybe a restaurant, but there's very little, and this is DC, like if I go to DC, I'd expect, I've never been to DC, I want to see DC, experience DC. They couple very little partnerships, and as you were talking, you know, I was thinking to myself, what partners, are there partners locally, you know, Indulge Boise came to mind, they do food tours, for example. And when I look to DC, I would love to see, give me a history tour, give me something that elevates like where you are, what makes you special. And if I translate that to Boise, like our accessibility is a big belt, the rivers, the mountains, the pubs, all the things that you guys mentioned. As you raise that awareness piece, you know, and during the fam dinner, that's what I've heard over and over again, is this is just such a lovely city.
Yeah.
We were at the river yesterday, we're going to Camel's Back tomorrow. And I think Andrew took him out that night to Sixth and Main. And I was just trying to get into their head, understanding how do they make decisions? What do they look for on behalf of their clients that will make them look successful? And it looked like we had everything stacked in our favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ian, very much.
Hopefully, you get any feedback you can offer would be great.
Hopefully get some progress.
Hopefully.
Casey,
It's no rest for the wicked, Pat, you know that.
have you given all the money away?
Yeah, we did, we gave $280,000.
It's so exciting.
Wow.
That's my favorite part, 19 checks.
Wow.
Took 50 minutes. To give them away.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It's a big
That's
win.
very meaningful.
Planting seeds of entrepreneurship.
Oh, it's awesome. I enjoyed reading about them and the visit review, some of the people that trail, mix, trail.
Yeah, the trail makes the food product.
Yes, yes, it was interesting.
Yeah,
And then since it's backing that shelf space, that's huge.
yeah, you'll see it's the Nosh Foods one trail mix.
Okay.
They make a cashew-based vegan cream cheese spread.
Oh, nice.
And you can get their stuff at Goldstein's.
Okay, yeah,
Bagels, but they'll be in Albertsons soon.
cool.
That's a game changer for the.
Casey found us off, that's still recording.
Okay. I guess,
I think probably,
yeah.
I'll just put it on leave.